Welcome to Blackbird Writers Presents, where we interview authors in the crime genre. And today's interview is with Jill Amadio, and we're very excited to have her here. She is a mystery writer, freelance journalist, ghostwriter, has published 14 books, including the Tosca Trevant mystery series. She's a columnist for Mystery People, a UK magazine, and writes a blog for the Writers in Residence. Her latest standalone thriller is In Terror's Deadly Clasp, based on a true 9/11 story. She has written for Condé Nast, Newsweek, Motor Trend, the Los Angeles Times Sunday Magazine, Gannett Newspapers, Bentley Magazine, and others. In Thailand, she was the lifestyle editor for the Bangkok Post. Amadio is from Cornwall, UK, and lives in Connecticut. She is a member of Sisters in Crime, Mystery Writers of America, and the Authors Guild. Welcome, Jill. We're very happy to have you here.
Thank you, Jackie, very much.
Now, since we do crime, first thing I want to do is dive into your mystery, your Tosca Trevant mysteries. Am I saying that right? Trevant?
Yes.
Okay.
It's her surname is Cornish. Trevant is a very Cornish name, very well known over there.
Oh, wonderful. But she's a journalist, and I had to say I laughed when I read the description that she'd been banished to the USA from the UK. And she's in Newport Beach, California, and trying to work her way back to England, which gives you a very nice subplot. And you've had the role of journalist. So is Tosca based on you at all?
No, not really. She covered, Buckingham Palace, where I was nowhere near the royals. But she and I both worked on Fleet Street. I worked for a newspaper called, it was a bit of a yellow rag, and it was called the Sunday Dispatch, and then it was the Daily Mail. And Tosca discovered a scandal, another one, at the palace. And so the royal family thought she should go away for a while, get out of their hair. So the editor sent her to America. So we go from there.
And how did Tosca wind up with an ex-Secret Service agent as a sidekick? I'm intrigued.
Well, the Brits love their gardens.
Yes.
And when Tosca came to live in Newport Beach on Balboa Island, she was appalled at her neighbors' weeds all over the gardens. So she decided to go in there and fix it. And while she was there, she noticed a rock garden in a corner. And she thought, well, he's got it all wrong. It's not constructed properly. And so she took it apart. And one of the stones she picked up, it was not a heavy one, was broken. And she saw something in there that caught her attention. And she thought, oh my gosh, what's that? So she took it home. She stole it, took it home, and she thought, I think they're bones. So on Balboa Island, police went around on bicycles. They didn't have cars because it was so small. So the next morning, when she saw one of the cops on a bike, she ran over and said, look at this stone. And he looks at the rock and thinks, what is this? So what? What is that? Nothing. And he kind of poo-pooed her theory that it could be finger bones. And she said, well, somebody should look at it. And he said, well, my father just retired from the Secret Service, and he has a new hobby. He's an amateur geologist, so I'll give him this rock. So that's what she did. And then come to find out the next morning, who appears on her doorstep is this man named Thatcher, and nothing to do with the prime minister. And he has the rock in his hand, and they go from there.
That is so fun. I love that. So the two of them, I mean, he's her sidekick in more than just the first book.
Right.
Goes on to the second book. And a little birdie told me, called social media, or no, it was on the blog. You're going to be writing another one? Are you considering one?
I've written two in the series,
Right.
and I'm working on the third one. I've got about 4 chapters done.
Oh, how fun. How fun. I'm looking forward to that. You know,
Thank you.
to step outside of the mystery writing for a minute, you've co-written or ghostwritten 30 biographies. Now, I wanted to ask you a question about ghostwriting. Does it like make you twitchy to see like somebody else taking credit for your writing?
It's horrible.
I
The
was
worst
waiting for
part,
you to rise above it.
oh no, the worst part is when you go to their book launch and they're sitting at a table, as I was with this one client up in Beverly Hills. And she was at Dutton's, which was the place to have a book launch. And she's sitting there, and it was a hardcover. She's signing my books. And I thought, that's not fair.
It's just not natural. It's not right.
No, I know. It was horrible.
Yeah, you just have to look at the compensation as something that keeps you going to write your own books, right?
Well, what happened was I started writing a business book. The editor of the magazine I was working for was a business magazine, Entrepreneur. And one day they got a call from a gentleman who said, I'm looking for a ghostwriter. So the editor thought of me and said, do you want to do this? Talk to this fellow. And I thought, I've never heard of ghostwriting. I thought, well, I'll talk to him. So I did, and I wrote the book. And after a lot of negotiating about the fee, because I hadn't a clue how much I should charge. And because then I thought, well, my articles so far have amounted to no more than 1,500 words, but a whole book, 60,000 words? I'm not sure about that. But anyway, I ended up doing it, and he was rather happy. And the next thing I know, he had talked to a neighbor about it, and the neighbor talked to somebody he knew at the local PBS TV station. And that lady there knew Rudy Valley's wife.
Oh,
Rudy
really?
Valley was a singer
Yes.
back whenever. And she wanted to write her memoir of life with him. So I met her and we did the book. For that one, here's something ghostwriters or potential ghostwriters might like to remember and maybe put in their contract. I became the co-author
Ah,
rather than the ghostwriter. So my name was on the book.
that makes more sense. I
Yeah,
mean, it
oh, it's
seems
nice.
fair. None of us believe these celebrities can write a book. So
They
we all know
can't.
there's ghostwriters there.
I know. And I
I
did one
shouldn't say that.
book.
I shouldn't generalize, but
Well, one book I did, one client I met, I got referrals all the time. And that's how I was able to do so many. And this one client had always wanted to write a thriller, but he couldn't write. So he hired me to write a thriller, his book. He had some ideas about it being a financial scam, but I said, well, look, let's stick in a couple of murders to, spice it up. And he said, oh, that's a good idea. How many murders can we do?
oh, fun.
So that got me, after that book, got me thinking about writing my own mysteries. And that's how I came to write my cozies. Yeah,
Oh, how fun. How fun. Do you
it
also write
was.
thrillers? You've got the 9/11
Yes.
the In Terror's Deadly Clasp, which sounds, tell people about that. That sounds gripping.
Well, when I was still living in California, I received a call from a young woman. She said was looking for a ghostwriter, and she'd called the Authors Guild, and they'd given her several names, and mine was one of them. And she was in Oregon, and she said, I was married to one of the 9/11 hijackers.
What do you say to
Well, I
that?
thought, yeah, well, they're all coming out of the woodwork, aren't they? But she gave
Oh,
me some details, and I thought, well, I can drive up there. So I did, and met with her, and she had all these documents. She had the marriage certificate, where they married in Portland. She had the divorce decree because they had divorce. She had Um, all the other, she had notes from the FBI, the CIA, et cetera, and she had photographs of
Oh,
some of the hijackers with the money man, Mohammed, and some of the other Arabs that came over periodically to meet with them. And she discovered that her home was now a meeting, a gathering place to set up cells, terrorist cells. So I wrote the book. She was 26 at the time I met her. She'd married him at 17. She'd run away from home. And so I wrote the book, and we couldn't sell it. I had a wonderful agent in New York, one of the top 10 agents,
wow.
and he couldn't get a publisher. They wouldn't touch it.
Really?
Yeah. So I sort of put it aside for a year or two, but it was in the back of my mind. And I thought, darn it, I'm turning it into a novel. And it was very easy because I already had the story. And there was a lot of tension in it and a lot of drama, and how she found out about her ex-husband and stuff like that. So all I had to do really was change the names.
Now, did
And
she actually do work for the FBI, or was that all part of
yes,
your?
no, after 9/11, she's she saw his photo on television. All 19 of the hijackers' photos were on every channel. And she was looking at the channel. Her brother called her and said, "Go turn on the TV. He's there."
Oh my
And there
gosh.
was her husband's photo. So she called the FBI and they didn't believe her. So she was able to give them enough details that they called her in to debrief her. And it turned into an 8 or 9 month debriefing. And then they sent her undercover uh, to find out where some of the other terrorists were meeting and stuff like that. So I thought, well, um, the agent didn't think the novel would work. Okay, fine. So I self-published it on Amazon, and it's still selling, and that was years ago.
Wow. Oh, really? That was, oh, it was just so fascinating to me. I can't believe that that nobody wanted to hear her story, or if they were too.
No, they didn't want anything to do with 9/11, the publishers at that time. And this was 2002.
Yeah,
So
maybe.
it was too fresh, I guess, in people's minds. They
Uh-huh.
wanted to move on.
Have you thought about doing it again as a biography or autobiography for her?
Well, here's the interesting part in the novel. It's a story within a story, because what I do um, after she discovers his photo and talks to her family and everything, and then one of the chapters begins where she's saying, "Is this the ghostwriter?" in a phone call. And I answer the phone. So then we blend everything together. And actually, she was in very bad shape. She was still very nervous. She thought they'd be after her if she did this book. And in fact, she died when she was 31 years old.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Well, it's a question of how she died. Do you remember? Oh, who was the lady who was um, in a car crash? She
Oh,
was
Anne
working in a
Hayes?
new.
No. Oh,
Sorry.
oh no, I know who you're talking about, but I can't remember her name.
Yeah, you're like me.
I'm
She worked in a
terrible.
nuclear lab and she was a whistleblower. And the
Right,
next thing, she's dead.
right.
Yes. So this is what happened to my heroine.
Mm,
She died in a car crash off
interesting.
cliff on a mountain.
Interesting. Yeah,
Yes.
that's kind of scary.
Yeah, it is. I know. But yeah, so then I plunged into more ghostwriting. And then I did a memoir of a woman I knew in California. and that was not ghostwritten. I wrote it myself, and she died. So I
Oh
thought, oh
no.
my gosh. Well, actually, she was 70 something. So,
Well,
you know.
I wanted to ask you because as far as your subject matters for some of the ghost writing and the co-writing you've done, I mean, it includes World War II pilots, nuclear physics, aviation artists. How deep do you have to get into? How much do you have to understand about what you're writing? I
As
mean,
much as you possibly can take in. You have to do a ton of research, and you have to have great curiosity and ask questions up the gazoo. I mean, you have to know everything you possibly can, what they had for dinner, what clothes they wear, what their emotions are like. You sort of step
oof.
into their shoes, and it's fascinating.
Oh, I bet it's
It
you be kind
really
of like
is.
spying
I
on
love it.
people, but for
Yes.
a good cause.
Yes, and you interview their friends and their families, et cetera, et cetera. But the research is what is the most important. And I usually spend about 3 months doing research before I even start writing.
Yeah,
Mhm. Yes.
that's research. I know historical novelists and the research is just one of them's offering a class in the future, and I'm going to take it because I'd love to write a
Uh-huh.
historical mystery like Agatha Christie age, not back in
Yes,
the
yes.
1700s or anything.
Yeah.
But the research is intimidating. You really have to know where you can find things, which as a
And what
journalist
to
is
leave
great.
out. Yes.
Oh, and
Mm.
what to leave out too. That's a very good point. Like, what's something you've left out that
Uh,
that you think readers would
well,
have liked, but it
well,
just
the
didn't fit?
nuclear physicist, for instance, he came from Yugoslavia. And when the Russians invaded, his family fled, and he came to America. They came to America, but he was very reluctant to talk about that part of his life.
Ah,
And you get by it by just saying he came from Yugoslavia, but
yeah,
he just didn't want. It was too painful for him.
yeah.
So I let it go. It's fine. You know,
No, that's because you have morals and ethics. And stuff
I do
like,
indeed.
you know, it's um, it's just fascinating to me how many different people you've talked to, and what is the mindset? How does it differ when you're working on like the 9/11 book versus or somebody's biography versus when you're writing a mystery? Because it sounds almost like a mystery in itself that you're solving when you're doing the biographical and the ghostwriting.
Well, you are. And what I try to do, I write a memoir as if it's a novel. I make it novelistic. I put dialogue in there. I describe the settings, and it's fun. And it's, as you say, it's like solving something. Yeah, it's
Oh, that's
great fun.
oh,
Yeah,
I'm glad to
I
hear
love it. I love
that.
it.
So when you're in your reporting career, you were all over North and South America, Europe, Southeast Asia. Your short story for Ring takes place in Bangkok. Have you ever considered placing a mystery in one of those countries where you were stationed?
I had thought of it, but um, I think America's enough of a mystery to me to set murders in. So no,
That's true.
actually the Bangkok one
Yeah.
is a murder mystery, but and it's a short story actually, although it's on
Right.
Amazon. Um, no, I don't. Well, I was thinking of sending Tosca back to Cornwall, where I'm
Ah.
from, and having her solve something there, maybe get pushed out again. I don't know.
That could be fun because I mean, not all attempts are successful. So if you
Yes,
have her make
true.
an attempt to get back there by helping somebody out. They can't ban her from the country, but then, okay, that didn't work, and she is back in the
I know. Yes, that's
US.
true. I personally get very homesick for England, but I after I visit a week or two later, I'm like, okay, I've had my fix. I'm ready
Yeah,
to go back to America.
because you've got, how
My
long have you,
children are here anyway.
yeah, that would
Yes.
make a difference.
Oh,
So
it does.
you're working on the third Tosca Trevant mystery. What's after that? Do you have, I mean, to keep going with the series, or do you have another?
Yes, I shall keep going.
Oh,
But
good.
I have Berkeley, the publishers, had approached me about ideas for a new series. So I sent them 2 ideas
Ah,
for a new series, but they didn't take them. So I thought, well, I'll do them myself.
yeah. Can you tell us what they were, or do you want to keep it quiet for now?
No, one is about one series that about 3 retired librarians who share a house on the in the northeast. And of course, what do but discover a murder? And they all set about in their different ways of solving it.
Oh,
Of course,
fun.
they get into trouble, and but it's fun. They are fun. And then the other series is about again about a journalist in New York who gets sick and tired of the daily round over there, down there. I'm in Connecticut. So she decides to come to Westport and start again. And she gets hired by the Westport Country Playhouse, which is quite a famous place. I mean, and Paul Newman, all kinds of celebrities live in Westport. Well, they before they died.
Yeah.
And so she does her amateur sleuthing there. Yeah.
And so there may be a little bit theater like Nile Marsh theater
Yes,
central.
possibly. I hadn't thought of that. Yes,
Yeah, I loved
exactly.
those. I love those.
Whatever. Yeah, I love her. Yeah. I haven't read her at all lately, not for years.
Oh yeah, I let them
Yes.
sit and then I reread them all.
Good for you. Yes. I'm rereading Agatha Christie, the Roger Ackroyd
I do
book.
that too. Isn't that wonderful? I mean, when people are just that good. And
I know.
funny enough, I have Dorothy Sayers, The Nine Tailors is like part of
Oh,
my Christmas
yes.
reading. And the first time I
Uh-huh.
read that book, I hated it.
Oh, how
I was
funny.
I was younger and maybe impatient or something. And then the next time I read it, because I was like, I don't want to hear all this about the bells that she's going on. And the next time I read it, I was like, how brilliant she is at just bringing the setting alive. And you could just hear the
Yes,
silence of the snow.
I
It's
know.
fantastic. So I
I
guess
know.
it
I know.
changes over the
Yes,
years.
yes. Yeah, our tastes do change. Yes. But I think the classics are still important.
Yes.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
where can people find you other than it's the Writers in Residence, because there's some another blog without the Writers in Residence is
exactly.
where you blog. And what was this mystery reads magazine in England? Let me see, did I get the name right? Are you writing for,
Oh,
let's
yes. It's called Mystery
mystery
People.
people?
It's actually because of COVID, it became an e-zine. So it's online and you can just go on to, their website, Mystery People. I think it's .co.uk.
Okay.
And they have a newsletter all the time, and I write a column for them, mostly interviewing any British authors in America that I can find. And I'm running out of them. But I did find the last one I found, her name is Jane Green.
Okay.
She lives nearby and she's written 23 books and sold 10 million of them.
Oh my.
Oh. Yeah.
Wonderful. That's a lot. Does she write mysteries?
No, they're sort of chick lit.
Oh, okay. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
very popular. Romance. They're very popular, aren't they? You
Yes.
know, yeah.
Yes. I don't think I could go that direction. Do you have social, are you on social media, or do you have a website?
I have a website. It's jillamadiomysteries.com. All
Okay.
one word, jillamadiomysteries.com. And I don't mind giving you my email address.
Well, this was going to be public. you know, people are going to be able to come to this public. So, I mean, if you want
Well,
the public to
well,
email you there, that's fine.
well, yes, but one of the problems is I have a contact page on my website,
Uh-huh.
and I've been getting Russian
Oh
and
yeah, I get that too.
Polish, and
Chinese and
it's
whatever.
horrible.
It is. You
So
just
I was
delete
going
it.
to take the page down, but I haven't yet. But so I guess I'll leave it. I don't know.
Okay, well, contact you there until you put an email address on your website that you want to get public mail from. And do you do social
Yes.
media at all?
Pardon?
Do you have any social media like Facebook or anything like that?
Yes, I have Facebook
And
and LinkedIn. I think I just quit Instagram because it was pretty useless for me.
yeah,
And what was the other one? I think that's it. Yeah,
okay.
Facebook. I forget to go on,
I know. I do know.
It's just so many things. The marketing is what really is difficult,
It's killer.
having
I
this.
understand that.
Oh, it's horrid.
Well, it's been a
Yeah.
delight talking to you. Thank you so much for coming. And you can see this and other interviews on blackbirdwriters.com. And thank you again, Jill.
Thank you, Jackie. I've enjoyed this tremendously. I really have. And thank you for inviting me.
You're welcome.
Okay.